Doug Stone, the Scout Executive for the Indian Waters Council, the Boy Scouts of America. In this edition of Stone Soup, I'm joined remotely via phone by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the state of South Carolina. He's an Eagle Scout. In fact, he's a distinguished Eagle Scout, a retired Major General with the U.S. Army. His name is Secretary William Grimsley. Secretary Grimsley, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for having me. Honored.
Well, we're honored to have you be a part of Scouting. I know that this program, the Boy Scouts of America, and its values and principles have been an important part of your life. Could you share a little about that as we start off today?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, and I won't belabor you with my family history, but I was never a Cub Scout because we were stationed overseas when I would have been in my Cub Scout years and lived out in a little village outside Paris, France in my first and second grade. My dad was working for when the Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe was in France before it moved to Belgium. And so we really didn't have an opportunity. There were only 2 American families in the whole little village. And so it was a little bit cumbersome. So when we moved back to the States in 3rd grade, my dad went to Vietnam for another tour, and we were living in Northern Virginia. And so it was my mom, my sister, and I. My brother was at Citadel then as a junior. And so I didn't do Cub Scouts because I would have entered later. So I became a Boy Scout directly at age 11 at the earliest opportunity. My father was a passionate and ardent supporter of Scouts for his entire life. He was a Depression-era child, and so he became a second-class Scout. Never progressed any further. But he is an award. He is a recipient. He's now passed, but was a recipient of the Silver Beaver, and of course was president of the Coastal Carolina Council twice. My brother made it to Life Scout and was on his way on the trail to Eagle, and then he met this girl who is now my sister-in-law for 52 years, and so didn't quite make it over the hump before he hit 18. So scouting has been in our family, and our sister was a Girl Scout. So scouting has been a big part of our family tradition, and so at my earliest opportunity at age 11, I joined the Boy Scouts at a troop in Northern Virginia. About not quite a year later, we moved to Fort Hood, Texas, where I continued in a great troop, and then went overseas. And I was a Life Scout with 19 merit badges and an Eagle Scout project completed and everything else when we moved overseas to Manila in the Philippines. We lived about an hour away from the closest troop, which was at the embassy, and again, prohibitive for me. But just by happy coincidence, there were 3 officers in my dad's unit there. It was the military advisory group to the Philippine military. And my dad was the chief of the MAG there. And just by happy coincidence, there were 3 officers, 2 Army and 1 Air Force, who were all Eagle Scouts. And they encouraged me to continue the program. So I earned my Eagle as a lone scout. And then subsequently with those gentlemen, we formed a troop. And so for our last year there that I was an Eagle and the senior patrol leader, we got a great troop going with about 20 young men and participated in International Jamboree there. In the interim, I became an honorary Resolve Scout, which is the Philippine equivalent. I did camping and activities with a local Philippine Boy Scout troop, and it was phenomenal, a great experience in Quezon City, which is on the outskirts of Manila. And then we got the troop going, moved back to Northern Virginia again for my dad's last assignment before he retired, and became the Junior Assistant Scoutmaster for a troop back in our Episcopal Church there in McLean, Virginia. And so my scouting experience was an extraordinary one for a variety of reasons, but I'll tell you that, and I've told a lot of people this, I've had the great fortune in my life to be part of some really tremendous organizations, but the ones that mean the most to me are the ones where I am able to take some sense of an obligation, mostly in the form of an oath or things like that makes me understand that I'm just an individual part of something bigger than myself in a larger organization. And those oaths and the organizations they represent mean an extraordinary amount to me, and I'd like to believe they helped form me into the person I at least aspire to be daily. And the very first organization that I took an oath to was the Scout Oath. And I continue to believe that it and the 12 points of the Scout Law are things that are great exemplars of what a person ought to strive to be every day. Another one is my oath of commissioning. I became a second lieutenant when I graduated from Davidson in ROTC, And I took that exact same oath of commissioning 8 subsequent times in every promotion. That's a tradition in the military where we re-swear our oath, because technically you're recommissioned to that grade every time you get promoted. So you're taking a new commission every time you get promoted. So I think that's a great tradition. And I've been married to the same woman for 38 years. And so I think that those are important. And now in this new job, I took another oath to support South Carolina and the Constitution of the United States. So these mean a lot to me, because not me as an individual, but me as an individual as part of an organization that ascribes to be part of something bigger than ourselves in support of other people.
Wow, and earlier this year, Mr. Secretary, you were appointed the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the state of South Carolina. And that certainly is a high obligation. Tell us a little bit about how. Yeah, sir.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. And this is an inaugural position. So this is a new department in the state.
Oh, wow.
It's been a great group of people serving long and proudly as a division or a section of another department or directly under the governor. It's been under a variety of forms. But now that we're a standalone department with a cabinet level secretariat, and I just happen to be the inaugural one, this is a real opportunity to continue to build out the opportunities and the programs that better serve our veterans and their families across the state, and to really allow us to build the capacity that enables us to live up to the obligation and the strong desire of the governor and others to make this the most military and veteran-friendly state in the United States.
Well, that's a high obligation and a great aspiration. We in scouting want to make sure that we're a part of that. And certainly over the years, that affiliation between the Boy Scouts of America and our military and its veterans has been extremely important. And here we are in the pandemic of 2020, looking for ways for scouts to get plugged in, to stay active. Our parents, our leaders, and our scouts are eager for ideas on how they might do that. There's some exciting things that can be done in reaching out to veterans. What are some ideas that you might share with us in which they can do that?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I've reached out to, I started because I sit on the council executive board for the Coastal Carolina Council. And I guess at least as of today, I'm still technically the district chair for the Low Country District until they replace me. It's kind of hard for me to do both from Columbia. But I'll remain on the council executive board. But I think that as I reached out to you and LaGree Clement and Coastal Carolina and the other council execs across the state and the district that sort of straddles Georgia and the Georgia-Carolina Council, one of the ideas was to get scouts involved in the reaching out to veterans who might be isolated or alone, the Battle Buddy program. Whether you call them a battle buddy like we do in the Army, the Marine Corps, or a shipmate in the Navy, or a wingman in the Air Force, or the aviation arms or the other services, it's the same thing. Nobody's ever alone. Nobody ever moves out without somebody providing cover and fire, cover your flanks, your back. That's just a basic principle of the military. And the idea holds true too, for now we're in this challenging period. So there's no doubt, much like other parts of our population, especially in the aging population or those who might not have another family member in the state, or who are by definition isolating for a public health standpoint, but are feeling even more isolated. The idea of having somebody just reaching out and calling them. The American Legion, for example, is doing, they call it the buddy check. So American Legion posts are calling their friends, the members of their post, others they might know. I built on that idea with a concept and to reach out to y'all, and maybe let's get our scouts involved in that, to be part of either another organization or standalone through our county offices, through the state office, to reach out to veterans who might not have anybody else to talk to. And it's a simple thing. Good morning, sir or ma'am. I'm Eagle Scout Will Grimsley, and I just wanted to reach out and first tell you, thank you for your service. We appreciate deeply what you did for the nation. But more importantly, just to make sure you understood that there were a whole host of people out there who care about you. And, is there anything we can do for you that we can connect you to somebody? But even if not, just wanted to reach out and say hi. It's just as simple as that. And the idea of doing it, within all of our youth protection capabilities, to make sure we have an adult leader or a parent or somebody there. but just to be able to do that reach out, and maybe even do it in conjunction with the Legion or the VFW or somebody like that. But it's just as simple as that. Another one that's gone on in some other places in the state, in York County, for example, our county Veterans Affairs office up there partnered with several not-for-profits and got both the Scouts and the Girl Scouts involved in food bank. Let's raise food, get some non-perishables there, build them into packets, and then get them delivered by either a not-for-profit or, in this case, some of them were delivered by Department on Aging. It's just those simple kinds of activities that continue the relationship that Scouts, for our 100+, 110-year history, have continued to do in partnership with the military services of the United States. There is an inextricable link there that we want to continue to reinforce. The veteran service organizations are so supportive of Scouting, and we of them. This is another opportunity to continue to strengthen that bond over time. And then, like you, we were talking about this before we came on. I read in Scouting Wire this morning, this opportunity now is Eagle Scout project. And by the way, I would say those are good Eagle Scout projects.
Absolutely.
As we're thinking about ways to do this more innovatively than the other traditional ones we've done. But the one we saw today, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, has put on their website this idea of Eagle Scout projects to gather Scouts to go on their website as we look at Memorial Day, and we're precluded from out planting flags and things we normally do, but get out there and be part of their programs that are doing. So write a tribute to a fallen hero on the Veteran Legacy Memorial on the USD, the VA.gov website, or encourage others to write the tributes. Get a troop engaged, and one aspiring Eagle Scout, make it and run it across his or her troop, or get it across their district, or even across the whole council. Posters to hang in windows. We're seeing those things going on in the nursing homes right now. We have 3 state veteran nursing homes in South Carolina. By the way, as of today, 0 positives in our state veteran nursing homes. 0. That's a tribute to the Department of Mental Health who runs them, the tremendous staff there, the families who are, ponying up to be part of the very strict visitation that we agreed to put into place on the 12th of March. That's a really great return on that investment. Tough on the families and tough on the veterans, but all for good things. On Monday, too, we're going to have a national moment of remembrance at 3 p.m. Eastern. Everybody take a moment of silence, followed by taps. If you got a bugler in a troop or several, or across each of your districts or across the council, that's a great opportunity. Take that moment of silence, and at 3:01, play taps, even if it's recorded. And then, use social media at our advantage, and electronic media and our ability to post it. We're going to do it here from the state headquarters. By the way, my public information director is sitting here right next to me, to take advantage of these opportunities and really amplify the message that Scouts are engaged. Even when we're all sitting at home isolated, driving our parents crazy, Scouts are engaged today in just in different ways, but no less impactful. So post what it is you're doing. Take a picture of your poster. Record what it is you're doing on your bugle call, whatever it is you're doing. And let's get that message out. Scouting is a great organization, committed to the state and nation.
So from small projects that, for example, Cub Scouts can do, to Eagle Scout projects at a greater level, to even things that we can do this weekend as we remember those who have died for our country. Lots of different opportunities. We're going to have, following this video, a link to our website where we'll be posting some contacts for our Scouts to and their families to reach out to veterans service organizations, as well as your offices throughout the state for the Office of Veterans Affairs. And that's really a great starting point to throw around. Hey, could we do this? Could we do that? Whom could we reach out to? And so we're eager for that to happen, not just this weekend, but as we continue through the year and in the future. And so with the future, Secretary Grimsley, what hopes or aspirations might you have for our Scouting family and the veterans out there as we we seek to make it through this pandemic and through some challenging times. Any last words of encouragement?
Well, we'll make it through. First off, you know, opportunities like this pose enormous challenges on individuals and families and organizations. But I mean, just take our history, take humanity's history, but take American history and South Carolina history. Every time we face a challenge, we might take a small dip immediately, but we always come back more resilient as long as we use this challenge as an opportunity. So we could sit and wring our hands and, you know, whine and bemoan our fate and choose to do nothing. It's always a choice, never going to be my choice. Or we could choose to use this as an opportunity to build ever stronger, more resilient people, organizations, state, nation. So if you think about it that way and you start to answer questions, I can't do this because, that's never the right choice. Always say, I can do this if only we were able to do X, Y, and Z. So as we start to fill in the blanks, that just takes a more positive way to look at problem solving and start to say, yes, we can do this if we have this and that and that. So yes, we can still honor our fallen across the people who wore the cloth of the nation in the service of the United States and South Carolina on Memorial Day if we do this. We maintain social distancing. We observe a moment of silence. We connect everybody electronically. We still honor our dead. We think about them. We play taps. We do all the things we're doing. We're just doing it differently. That's just a different way to look at the problem. So I would say let's turn challenges into opportunities and continue to be strong people and strong organizations. Scouts have been who we are and where we are, even facing challenges that we're facing today beyond the pandemic. But we're still a great organization. We're still committed to the development of the youth of the nation to be the future leaders of the nation and of course, in our case, South Carolina. And we're going to continue to meet that mission because we are who we are. And we're filled with great people. We're filled with great executive volunteers like you or not executive volunteers, but executives and your district execs and everybody else who do that. Tremendous volunteers out there, tremendous parents. It's a, you know, scouting's a family endeavor. And young men and women now who want to be part of something bigger than themselves, just like you and I did. You know, we both started, I don't know if you started as a cub, but we both started somewhere in our scouting journey. And yet here now, you know, 51 years later, I'm still involved because I think it is an incredible organization committed to the right principles and ideals. You'll agree, others that in your position across the state do the same thing. And we can't do it without that whole fabric of people, from a brand new Tiger, Lion, up to Eagle Scouts, to Scout executives, to volunteers. So, you know, that's just extraordinarily important. So I have this aspiration that scouting will not only emerge from this stronger, but that scouting will continue to grow, that we're going to see people come back and say, yeah, this is something I need to be part of because we saw what they were able to do. Same thing for people in the military. You know, we want to continue to encourage people to join the military who are the right people to bring that back into their civilian life, you know, 3 or 4 years later, or in my case, 33 years later, so that they can continue to be servant leaders for the state and the nation. So let's use this challenge as an opportunity. That's one. I think we have continuing opportunities as part of my vision for this department to be the connective tissue, to be the collaborative focus for all things veteran and military in South Carolina, but I don't have to own everything, just trying to get unity of effort. So how can we take the good offices of other parts of the state, not-for-profits, the for-profit corporations, the other departments of the executive branch of the state, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and the things that our federal government provides, our congressional delegation in Washington. How can we take all of those pieces and put them together to continue to provide the right things for the people of the state of South Carolina, in my case, the veterans and their families, and the military bases, the 8 military post camps and stations and their families, communities across the state. How can we pull all this together to emerge and do more? And here's a place where scouts can be involved. We need to have scout units on every one of those 8 installations or surrounding the communities of them. They need to be engaged back and forth. That's one of my pushes back there in the Low Country, is to get scouts re-engaged on MCRD, Parris Island, and Marine Corps Air Station Buford. And how do we take advantage of that? How do we get Sea Scouts aligned with with, you know, what's going on at the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary. It's already going on in Charleston. Let's do it in Beaufort. Same is true up here in Indian Waters. Same is true across the state. So, you know, how do we do more of that and how do we connect them? And then lastly, well, it's not lastly, but at least last for this, because I'd like the store to remain open. But lastly for this, how do we take some opportunities that are already emerging out there and connect them better? Here's an example. I had a Zoom call, coincidentally, earlier this week with the State Fire Marshal's office, who is embedded within the Labor Licensing and Regulation Department of South Carolina. They have a program where they take grant money and they turn it into buying smoke and carbon monoxide alarms for people who need them that may not be able to afford them or may not have the capability or capacity to install them. And so they take them, they buy them, they'll get the local fire departments to go and install them for people. And it's specifically targeted in most cases for people, you know, in the aging population. But in my case, they're going to commit $25,000 to buy another tranche of these for veterans. And then they'll get the local fire and EMS departments to go out and install them once the veteran identifies that they are in need. And they'll do that through their county veteran affairs office or a veteran service organization. Well, I'm sure you have them up here. How can we get the fire and EMS explorer posts to go out and be part of that? And maybe take advantage of that. That could also, by the way, be an Eagle Scout project. I just learned 2 days ago that one of the gentlemen who works directly for the governor, his deputy chief of staff, is an Eagle Scout from South Carolina. His Eagle Scout project was identifying people without smoke alarms and then developing a program through his troop to get the money to buy them and then go with adults and install them in their homes. This was 25 years ago. So this is not a new idea. This is just a re-emergent idea. And now we have private sector funding something through a state organization who came to me as a partner state organization to identify the veterans to do it, and then let's get our local providers to go out there and install them. This is a place where we can connect scouts back in. Those opportunities just abound. We are only limited by our creativity. And so my door, physical, electronic, email, telephone, is always wide open to help be this connective tissue. And in my case, because I'm in the veteran tribe, I'm in the military tribe, I'm also in the scouting tribe, you know, these are all my people. You know, Strom Thurmond used to, when you met somebody, used to say, who are your people? You want to know where you came from, who your relatives were. So you're part of my people. And so I would offer this to you, to your counterparts across the state in the other councils, that I am a wide open door and book anytime to be participative, a partner, a conduit, or anything else for you and all things scouting as we move this forward.
Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the state of South Carolina, a distinguished Eagle Scout. Secretary William Grimsley, thank you so much for being a part of today's Stone Soup. And we appreciate that tremendous partnership and the ideas and opportunities you're presenting our scouting family as we continue on this year and in the future for great things. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you. It's all about doing a good turn daily.
Well said. Well said.
Okay.
Thanks so much to everybody for being, yes, sir. Thank you so much. And to everybody for being a part of this Stone Soup. Again, stay tuned. We'll provide some links to some ideas as to how your scouts can get plugged in to these opportunities with veterans. Thank you.